new viewers each week.
Yeah, man. So we got to talk about Bad Blood. October the 5th, 2024. So it was a 2-match show that the 2 matches on the 2-match show, they did well. Those 2 matches did really well. The mid card, however, quite soft in the mid. We're going to talk about the entirety of the show because I don't believe in only talking about what's important. I believe that you need to take the entire show in and grade the entire show, or at least watch the entire show. But we're going to get to some of the ancillary things first. For instance, let's pluck out the Crown Jewel announcement and talk about that first. So November the 2nd, 2024, I was fumbling around in a live stream trying to figure out when the next WWE pay-per-view was. I completely forgot about Survivor Series, but Crown Jewel is next. So Crown Jewel is the 2nd. Survivor Series is on the 30th, so there will be no December pay-per-view. Instead, there will be a Saturday Night's Main Event 2 weeks after Survivor Series. There will also not be a pay-per-view in January, but it will be replaced with nothing. So there will be no Supercard in January as we go through the Royal Rumble, which is February the 1st. You mean to tell me they could not find a single Saturday or Sunday in January to hold the Royal Rumble? Just couldn't do it, couldn't figure it out. Anyway, okay. So, Crown Jewel is next. And Triple H, because he likes to have his face on TV, even though he swears he's shy, he decides he wants to have a conversation about what is going to occur at Crown Jewel. So he comes out and he actually announces an annual champion versus champion match. And I was like, what? Annual champion versus champion match. But neither title will be on the line. Instead, what they will do is award an annual Crown Jewel champion an annual Champion of Champions championship. That's what the plan is. So the past Survivor Series gimmick is now being given to Crown Jewel, and now they have the AEW Women's World title. I'm sorry, that's what it looks like to me. You know, like you give a Super Mario mushroom to the AEW Women's World title, and it just doubled in size. And that belt is going to go to the winner. So automatically, we know that Cody Rhodes versus Gunther is the match at Crown Jewel. I don't like it. I don't like it. Look, I like traditions. I like if you want to create a tradition. I said before that they need like a little brown jug kind of gimmick. But I thought that would be the brand versus brand Survivor Series thing. And plus people seem to really hate the brand versus brand stuff at Survivor Series. They complained about it year after year after year. They complained about brand versus brand. But now people seem to be A-okay with this champion versus champion thing, which is the same goddamn concept. So, each champion, the women's championship, the men's championships, they will both be given these gigantic belts. I don't know. Why not the tag team titles too? Why did they forget the tag team belts? You know, like, is the tag team championships going to have a similar gimmick to it? Or no? Or is it only the singles titles? I don't know. Can't figure that part out. I don't like it. It's goofy. It makes Crown Jewel a filler show. Because now you know there's no storyline relevancy to it. It's just whoever the champion is going into the show, that's what it is going to be. And I think it's a waste of a show. I think when you take storylines out of it, it becomes a useless show. So that means all the talk that I was doing about, you know, Punk versus Gunther at Crown Jewel, nope. Punk can now skip the show entirely and not bother the show at all. Most of the guys can bother not going. There really is no point to going. Now, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some kind of storyline match attached to this eventually. But of all the crazy crown jewel things that they've done, this is akin to when that Shane McMahon won that goofy tournament, or when Braun Strowman won that goofy greatest Royal Rumble ever. This feels like that. It feels like they're not taking this show seriously. You know, this feels like it's just a $50 billion soul show. They don't care about it. Like, for it to generate so much cash, for them to take storylines out of it and replace it with whomever the champions are, they're going to wrestle each other. It's like, okay. And plus, you've done all this work to build up these titles. Why does somebody have to take a loss to definitively tell you that that person is the lesser of the two champions, when you've done a great job, in my opinion, of keeping the titles relevant while they've been separate? Now you're going to decide, well, one champion's better than the other, and it's going to destroy the credibility of one of those titles. So there that is. Chief Content Officer, my ass. Right? So let's go through. Well, I guess, do you want to talk about Gunther and Goldberg right now? Want to talk about that right now too? Okay. So Gunther comes out, talks about being the crown jewel champion. Can't wait. Mentioned he's going to have to fight Sami Zayn, but said that since he's a future legend, or he's a legend right now, he wants to talk about some of the legends that was there in the arena. There was various legends around: Steiner, DDP, Mickey James, etc. A bunch of celebrities too, like Lil Baby and Quavo. Just nothing really came out of this. And then Gunther starts talking about Bill Goldberg. He tells Goldberg that he wants to clarify Bill Goldberg is not his hero. And then says that to Gage, he hopes that Goldberg is a better father than he is a wrestler. Goldberg snatches his hat off and jumps the barricade. And now people are chanting for Goldberg to fight Gunther. And there's a lot of people excited about this. There's energy behind this. Gunther is, of course, feeding into it, calling him a one-trick pony, saying he got 3 minutes for Goldberg. You know, Goldberg gets carried out eventually. Well, he gets escorted out. He gets in the ring eventually after Sami Zayn attacks Gunther, which gets a less reaction than Gunther and Bill Goldberg. Then Goldberg says that you're next to Gunther. So if you were going to have a pretty much non-canon match at Crown Jewel, it seemed like you set it up right here. What was the purpose of shooting this angle if you're not going to do this match? I would imagine you're going to do this match. That's kind of it's kind of how I feel they're going to do it. I think the perfect place for it is not Survivor Series, actually, but Saturday night's main event. I think if you have Goldberg's final match on national television in Long Island, New York, that could be big. That could be money. And it could be versus Gunther. And I don't have a problem with that. Does Goldberg want to win his final match? Probably. But putting Gunther over will probably be good for him. So, if you're not going to have this match, this whole angle was stupid for no reason. But if you're going to have it, you really built it up strongly. Because this actually was, teased a couple weeks ago. Okay, so let's finally get into the show proper. So they did this big cold open with Metro Boomin and Cody and Triple H, and they're doing some kind of Mission Impossible cinematic thing with Triple H and Cody talking in like a parking lot or something. And I don't know what the secret mission was, but it required Cody and Metro Boomin to sit outside of the arena for months. And that was it. What was that? I don't know. I don't know and I don't care. So the hosts of Bad Blood, they didn't do anything all night. They just went up to the suite and danced, pretty much. They introduced the Hell in a Cell match early. And then they made fun of Chelsea Green later by saying she stinks and kicking her out of the VIP section. Which actually was funny. Because she washed herself, but she still smells bad. And then they teased a little bit with Piper and Chelsea, where Piper got to stay and Chelsea got kicked out. So that was fun. But otherwise, there was no real point to them being on this show, other than we just got to have black faces on the show. So, all right, let's get into finally the card. Match 1, the Hell in a Cell match. CM Punk defeats Drew McIntyre. All right, so this match was really good. Really good match. I don't know how many stars it'll get. Don't care, quite frankly. They bled pretty freely in this match. The only thing the referee did was clean them up every once in a while, which got boos. Because McIntyre personally got a gusher going. He was going pretty tough. But Punk started bleeding after he got javelined into the cage. McIntyre got stabbed in the head with a wrench. Or I think it might have been the other way around. Punk got stabbed in the head with a wrench. McIntyre got busted open after CM Punk hit him in the face with a toolbox. It was pretty good. CM Punk used a sharpshooter, which gave us the great visual of McIntyre in the sharpshooter bleeding, which, Punk is a mark for Bret Hart. So this was their WrestleMania 13 wink and nod. It was a very poor sharpshooter because Punk is so unathletic. But eventually Punk did get to move on. There was like 2 or 3 GTSs that were kicked out of, 2 or 3 Claymores that were kicked out of. I'm not a big fan of Burns and all those finishers, but this is Hell in a Cell, so I guess so. They did a good job with Drew McIntyre telling the story of him injuring his back early in the match, and so he couldn't lift the stairs. And it played into the match later on, because of course McIntyre could lift those stairs, but when they was telling the story of him bleeding and being weak and all this kind of stuff, he couldn't lift the stairs. They played into it later when he tried to go for the Claymore and Punk moved, and then McIntyre hit his back on the edge of the stairs. So it's simple storytelling. It's not complex at all, but it worked. Punk uses the Anaconda Vice. Then McIntyre grabs a wrench. Punk sees the wrench, takes it from him, starts banging McIntyre in the head with it. At this point, McIntyre starts to bleed, and he's pleading. He's on his hands and knees, and Punk's like, "Pray to me! Pray to me!" He don't know Rocky, but he knows Batman, so he don't know shit about Rocky. He ain't seen Rocky 3, but he's watched enough Batman. "Pray to me!" And then McIntyre hits him in the nuts. So the big finish comes with a GTS after the chain has been wrapped around the knee of CM Punk. Pretty believable finish. Solid finish. Right guy won. Can't complain about this. This was very good. They didn't go overboard. Maybe hitting each other in the head with the wrench a little too many times, but the blood felt like it was earned. It felt like these two guys were in a fight. Felt like they hated each other. Everything was believable. There was nothing that was too too choreographed. Even the spots, the big spot of the match was the suplex through the table. That wasn't even choreographed. I actually forgot the table was over there. So they did a really good job of making me forget about that table. Because usually when you see a table, you know it's going to be used. But they took a table out earlier and they just took the legs and shit off of it. So it wasn't like they kept putting, Chekhov's gun, when you see something, you have to use it. But they also used the table in different ways when they used the table legs and stuff as weapons. So just because they put a table there didn't mean they was going to crash through it. But they did crash through it, so that was fun. And that suplex spot was pretty dope, by the way. So after the match, Punk slams the cage door. He's walking down the aisle, then he collapses. They give him oxygen and a bunch of other stuff, really putting over how dangerous this match was, and Phil's too old for this shit. He's too old to be in Hell in a Cell matches, too old to be fighting. So they really put it over, very dramatic there at the end. McIntyre looks disappointed in himself. He's bleeding, he's holding his back, but he didn't stay down. He was standing up at the end. But they didn't do anything corny like try to get sympathy for McIntyre or try to coax the audience into, giving them a standing ovation or anything like that. They put all the drama on Punk. So that was a really good job. How do we go away from here? You know, the right guy won. Feud is over, apparently. How do we move on from here? Now that you've told me that in 4 weeks that Gunther is likely going to be wrestling Cody and not wrestling Punk or anybody else that's on Raw, are we looking at Survivor Series? You know, Gunther and Punk, which might be the best option because Survivor Series needs a main event. I guess we'll talk more about the main event of Survivor Series later. They need a singles match at Survivor Series, let's say. Okay, match 2. The WWE Women's Title match, Bayley versus Nia Jax. Easily one of the worst matches on the show. There's 2 matches on the show that were really bad. That were kind of not good. This one, and of course the other Women's World Title match, it was also not good. But this one, in terms of in-ring, was probably the worst. Because Nia, even though this was not a terrible Nia Jax performance, they're trying to book her like Vader, but she's not Vader. You know, like, in terms of her performance, let's say, she looked dominating. She wrestled big. When she threw that clothesline early in the match, it looked good. It looked solid, but her strikes looked like shit. And they botched a bunch of moves. You know, there's just no other way around it. They tried to do, Nia Jax does a Hurricanrana. They botched it. Then Bayley just did a flip for no good reason. They also botched a Samoan drop. How did you botch a Samoan drop when you're both Samoan and you've done this move 100 times? I don't know, but Nia Jax managed to botch a Samoan drop. I don't get it. So the crowd were chanting for Tiffany Stratton. Not long after the bell rang, the crowd is chanting for Tiffany Stratton. They want her to come in there. And so they eventually get what they want as the match goes on. And Tiffany runs to the ring after the referee has been crushed. And she tries to revive the referee. And then she, of course, going back and forth with Bayley. Then Nia Jax actually does the Undertaker sit up to see Tiffany in the ring with the Money in the Bank briefcase. She, of course, is accusing Tiffany of, you know, trying to cash in on her and all this stuff. None of this matters. Ultimately, Bayley goes down to a Samoan drop from the second rope and then followed by an Annihilator. This was not Bayley's finest moment. Ever since that theme changed for Bayley, it has not been good. You know, it's been tough for people to really get into it. I think of all the people that have been affected by the new regime taking over, Bayley has been the most affected. Now, I know some people may say, like, that's weird because she's gotten a huge push. She won the Royal Rumble. She won the world title at WrestleMania. But she's never been less over. And she's never meant less than she does right now. That's the end-all, be-all of it. Bayley has never mattered less on the roster than she does right now. She's gotten the biggest push of her career outside of 2020 when she was the pandemic champion and she was Bayley 2 belts. Outside of that, this has been the biggest push of her entire career and she's never been less over. People have never cared less about Bayley. Nia Jax, look, I don't have nothing against her, but this it's not working out. She's just huge. That's the benefit, is that she's really big. But she's not like a Bull Nakano. Or, you know, like, she's not graceful. She's not really all that athletic. She can do body crushes and, you know, the Vader stuff. But, you know, and she gets a little loose with a bunch of other things that she tries to do. Generally, I don't hate Nia Jax. I really don't. I used to call her Girl Big Show. She's not quite that bad. Big Show's far worse than Nia Jax, if we're being for real. You can argue with me with that if you want to, argue with the wall. But I would rather watch Nia Jax than watch Big Show. I will never agree to watch Big Show, okay? But this match was not good. But it was probably some of the better work that Nia Jax has done in terms of looking the part. You know, Bayley did a really good job of making sure Nia Jax looked like a monster. But it just didn't, they didn't bring it all together, so it's unfortunate. Now, the third match on the show, Damian Priest defeats Finn Balor. Now, I love me some Finn Balor. I really do. I'm at the point where Finn Balor should be world champion, and I'm kind of sick that he's not. Because what does he need to do? Like, when you look at Finn Balor, the only really thing against him is that he's small. He's in great shape. He can still go, even though he's 43. He's got an aura to him. The crowd's behind him. They respond to him. He can cut promos in the right context. He's got a really cool gimmick in terms of the demon and all that kind of stuff. What's missing? You know, like, the only thing that's missing is them putting him over when it matters. You know, Balor seems to get in these really good positions where he's a top guy, but he's going to end up like Rick Rude, like Kurt Hennig, where he's, you know, the guy who works with the top guys when he probably should be the world champion himself. You know, Gunther, I would rather Finn Balor be champion than fucking Gunther. And I don't dislike Gunther, but to me, Finn Balor is a quintessential WWE top guy. And he's going to end up being remembered kind of like the Rick Rude of this generation. You know, look phenomenal, can really get the most out of everybody, but never really the top guy himself. And he got a lot out of Damian Priest here. He worked really hard with Damian Priest here. We got a bunch of run-ins with Judgment Day, which of course they were going to do. Damian Priest overcomes it. South of Heaven chokeslam. He wins. Pretty clean, solid. He even kicked out of the coup de grace earlier, so it wasn't like, you know, Finn didn't hit his big move. At this point, a pattern had emerged that I noticed. Every single singles match on this show featured a big person and a little person. And the first three of these matches featured the bigger person grabbing the smaller person and ramming them into the ring corner. Every single one. Drew McIntyre did it, Nia Jax did it, and Damian Priest did it. And I was like, whoever laid out these matches, you noticed the pattern of big and little. Why did they have to start the same way? You know, like, you think nobody's going to pick up on that? I picked up on that. I noticed it. But I like Finn Balor and Damian Priest. This felt like a match on Raw, though. You know, Damian Priest and Finn Balor felt like something you would see on Raw. It didn't feel pay-per-view worthy. There was no real drama to it. It wasn't a bad match. It just wasn't a pay-per-view worthy match. It was mid-card. Match 4, Ria Ripley versus Liv Morgan. Ria Ripley wins the match by disqualification after Raquel Rodriguez interfered in the match. Not a fan of the disqualification finish. Thought that was awful. If you're going to do a DQ finish, just do it on Raw. Why do it at the pay-per-view? It was all set up well, I guess you could say. The entrance video with Dominic and Liv, it was great. They were listening to Mexican rap music. You know, in the lowrider. The lowrider is an action figure now, so Dominic gets to make more money off that. They showed you what the Dominic tissue looks like. It looks like shit because clearly it's gimmick tissue. So Liv Morgan and Ria Ripley, the crowd was kind of taken out of the match. You know, Dominic is suspended above the ring, but the heat is with Dominic, and you took him out of the story, right? So now Liv has got to get her own heat, and she's small. So the best they could do was she chop blocks Rhea and starts attacking the leg. Okay, that works a little bit. Then, you know, once Rhea starts her big comeback, Dominic opens the cage, and the cage is dangled above the aisleway. So then somehow Dominic is dangling upside down. I'm like, what? How the hell did this happen? And this distracts Ria Ripley. She goes to the referee and says, "I'll finish this in a minute." I gotta go finish some business. And the referee's like, okay. I'm like, what? What kind of referee are you? Like, can a quarterback say that? Like, I know I got 24, 40 seconds or whatever it is before it's a delay of game penalty, but give me a minute. I gotta go do something else. I'll be right back. And then the referee's just being like, okay. No, it don't work like that. You can't just let her go outside the ring. And why couldn't that wait? So they turn Dominic into a piñata. He gets, hit a bunch of times with the kendo stick. And then Raquel attacks Rhea right in front of the referee as she's attacking Dominic. And it's a disqualification. And the crowd simply does not care because likely they don't even remember who Raquel Rodriguez is. She's been gone for so long. Most people just did not remember who she was. So there she is. Raquel Rodriguez. So then they drag Ria Ripley to the ring. She gets a Chicana bomb, a Tejana bomb, or whatever they're calling it, bomb. And then she puts Liv Morgan on top of Rhea. But the match is already over. Match is already over. It's already over. So everybody is pissed off at this point. People are disgusted because they've been waiting for this match and they threw it out with a disqualification. A non-finish, So Rhea doesn't win the title even though she won the match. And now you're trying to divert Rhea using Raquel, who nobody cares about. So it makes sense from storytelling perspective because Raquel and Liv were tag team partners. So it makes sense why it would be Raquel. And I generally like Raquel. I liked her when she was in NXT. I like the match she had with Ria Ripley in NXT. I don't have a problem with Raquel Rodriguez. It's just that the main roster audience has never connected with Raquel Rodriguez. They've never had a love for Raquel. So it's difficult for these people to care about this thing. It does solve the problem that I said before about Liv Morgan needs a heater. Now she's got one. Now we have to do something to make people care about Raquel. That's not going to be that difficult, I think. I think they'll eventually get it over within a week or two. But for right now, it didn't work. It didn't work. And what's up with all the Latinos in Judgment Day? Is there like some kind of subtext I'm missing here about Latinos in this kind of biker gang situation? I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something. But now Raquel's wearing black. Hopefully she feels better. Knowing that she was, she had like this, what was like an allergic reaction or something that she was having that made her feel bad as she was at home for a long time. So people are not going to be happy about the Raquel Rodriguez thing because everybody's going to be like, oh my God, who, what, when, where, how? This was the big blow-off match in this feud and you ruined it. Kinda. But that also tells us that Rhea and Liv are going to need some kind of different kind of match. So now you have a big woman with Liv to protect her from Rhea. This feud ought to be much different now, So I'm okay with this. We're going to have to pray for Raquel that she doesn't end up just being tall Zelina, who was just a random Hispanic woman on the show with no discernible qualities or characteristics. All right, so our main event of the evening, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. So Cody gets played to the ring by a marching band, and they're bad. They're terrible, actually. The timing was off, so it didn't sound good. Didn't really sound all that great. That's very unfortunate. Roman also gets a live performance for his entrance. Like, is this WrestleMania? Is this SummerSlam? Oh, no, it's just Bad Blood. and we're doing live performance entrances here. Michael Cole then tells us the entire story of Ole Anderson and Dusty Rhodes. And I'm like, why? Why are you telling me this? The whole night they've been talking about matches from the Omni. They're talking about Buzz Sawyer and Tommy Rich, the Battle of Atlanta. I'm like, bruh, okay. But I'm glad that you guys got some notes from what was that, Ben Brown guy from the historical department or something? I'm glad that guy left you some notes. Because I guarantee you ain't watched none of that shit. Guarantee you ain't watched none of that. But thank you for the history lesson, I guess. But stop it. Stop doing this. It feels weak to me. It don't feel real. It don't feel like when, sports announcers are bringing up the past. It just feels like these guys are trying very hard, but you can tell that they didn't watch none of this shit. So the Cody Roman team, super over team. Roman is more over than Cody, and Cody is the hometown guy here. The match worked in basically two different spots, where one, Roman was the babyface in peril, the other, Cody was the babyface in peril, which is technically not how a tag team match is supposed to work. I understand a lot of AEW fans get frustrated with WWE because typically WWE matches are done for drama and AEW matches are for action. And this one was a classic example of a WWE match that was mostly drama. None of them, like, they were trying to get the most out of a back elbow. Throw a guy to the rope, back elbow. Yeah! Just to get the boo, So there's kind of like generic wrestling stuff going on. Jacob Fatu is in there. He doesn't look bad. He looks pretty good, actually. He's not overselling anything. He's registering stuff, but he's not flopping all over the place. Solo looks solid, at least, in some of the spots. As the match began to break down, that's when the big spot started to come in. Cody does the big splash off the top rope through the announce table onto Jacob Fatu, which of course takes him out of the match. The Tongans show up, and then Jimmy Uso appears. Huge pop for Jimmy Uso. He takes out the Tongans. Roman spears Solo, gets the pin. Okay, then we get the big moment between Roman and Jimmy where they hug and all this stuff. That was great. That was great. I legitimately smiled at Roman and Jimmy hugging. So then they're about to leave. Jimmy and Roman, they're about to leave. They're in the aisleway when the Tongans and Solo decide to jump Cody Rhodes. So Jimmy tells Roman, look, I'm with you. Whatever you say we gonna do it. So, and he was like, but you gave him your word. You gave him your word you was gonna have his back. So then Roman turns around, he goes back, Jimmy goes back too. They beat up the rest of the bloodline, they flee, they take off. So as Roman and Cody are in the ring together, The Rock's theme song plays. And The Rock comes out there, just eats up so much scenery, doesn't do anything but raise his finger, and then, does the throat slice thing, and he leaves. He raises the eyebrow. So, lets everybody know he's suspicious of what's going on here, or he's noticing. He's chief noticer all of a sudden. He's notifying. That's not a word. It is a word, but it's not in this appropriate context. So he comes out, he does his thing, and he leaves. Huge pop for The Rock, obviously. Shit. Look, the match was solid. It was a solid enough match. A classic Saturday Night main event, late 80s, early 90s, WWF. Like, this would have been the main event of like SummerSlam 89 or something. Like this kind of mega powers kind of tag team match. It worked in that regard. The finish made sense with Roman pinning Solo to reestablish that he is the top guy. Solo earlier in the night was upset at Roman, saying, "You said I was next in line. You lied to me." Even though, like, Roman said that, but didn't imply that you could take over right now. Like, that wasn't the implication, is that you were the man now. So, Solo loses, as everybody expects. Jacob protected. He got put through a table. So now everybody's talking about Survivor Series. Now, note, I did not see a War Games tag to Survivor Series. Maybe I missed it. I didn't see one. So, but the idea being is that there's going to be some kind of Bloodline versus Bloodline, which is what everybody's expecting. And now the side is like, whose side would The Rock be on? The original Bloodline or the new Bloodline? And with Jey Uso being the Intercontinental Champion, nothing prevents him from coming back. Like, there's no reason why he can't be in this match. But there's Sami Zayn, who was in the original Bloodline. Apparently, we're not going to use him. And so now there is a belief that it's going to be the Usos, Roman, and The Rock versus the Tongans, Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, which will be Solo's third pay-per-view main event this year. What a launch he's getting, right? In terms of main event push. It's sensible that you would do that. That you would have, The Rock and Roman as partners, and versus Jacob, Solo, etc. But that only works if The Rock turns on Roman in that match. Otherwise, they're going to dog walk the new Bloodline, right? That would be the point. Is that, the new Bloodline has to win something. They can't just keep getting steamrolled in main events. So if The Rock joins Roman's team and then turns on him at Survivor Series, that will launch us into the Rock-Roman match at WrestleMania. Because they almost always build up WrestleMania around Survivor Series anyway. So that makes sense. I like that idea. How do we get Cody out of this? That's kind of like, I would imagine like Randy Orton or Kevin Owens are going to pull Cody from this. That was going to end up being ultimately the end goal. They're going to have to pull Cody from this situation and replace him with The Rock. Obviously, they're going to do something where maybe Jimmy Uso tries to talk Jey into coming back, and eventually he does talk Jey into coming back, for one night only or something like that. It could be great, whether it's War Games or a regular 4-on-4. But for me, I would much rather regular 4-on-4. Jimmy gets eliminated. Jey gets eliminated. Rock turns on Roman. Solo pins Roman. Then we find out that Solo is going to be a henchman for The Rock. And The Rock's taking over the new Bloodline. And we just run from there. Because you've already beaten Solo twice. So nobody's going to believe that he's really the tribal chief and that he's really this big top guy. He's not a threat anymore. You've kind of blown off his heat, especially in relation to Roman Reigns. You can't even have a singles match between these two guys at this point. Solo doesn't look like a proper opponent for Roman right now. But if he pins Roman because The Rock helped him, then you could do a proper feud between the two leading up to The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. So that's what I would do personally. But The Rock, of course, being there makes things interesting because everybody's wondering what side is he on, which is what you want. You want people to ask questions. You want people to be involved in the story. And The Rock showing up, letting you know that he's paying attention. He's watching. That adds some intrigue because Solo needs the help. Solo needs something to get him to the next level. And since he just lost again, he's not looking very tribal chiefish. He's looking like a phony. He's looking like a fake. So maybe they do something even more slick. Maybe they have Jacob and the Tongans kick Solo out, and then The Rock teams up with the Tongans and Jacob Fatu against Roman, Solo, Jimmy, and Jay. That you could do that, but Solo's been such a bastard. I don't think that could work in 6 weeks or whatever. Of trying to make him a babyface again, so that wouldn't work. The best option would be for everybody to think that The Rock is turning babyface. He's always been with Roman. He's going to be with Roman. Roman is his tribal chief, and then he turns on Roman at the end. Well, editing Mongo here. So apparently they shot an angle after the show where Kevin Owens attacked Cody Rhodes in the parking lot near his bus. And so I guess we were all right that Kevin Owens is going to pull Cody from this storyline. So Cody will not be in that Survivor Series match. Okay, let's talk about this segment real quick. We obviously don't know what they were saying, but it looked from the different camera angles that they were in some kind of argument, heated discussion, and Kevin Owens decided to just haul off and punch Cody in the face. Now, the 90% of the comments I'm seeing are, why is this happening on social media? Why is this not on TV? Why didn't this happen at the end of the pay-per-view? Yada, yada, yada. And all that is very valid. You know, almost nothing happens on SmackDown ever. And a lot of stuff happened on this show, but none of it involved Cody. Everything involved the Bloodline or Judgment Day. Almost nothing involves Cody ever. I will say this. At least it was creative. It felt like it was immersive because the crowd was there to see Cody get on his bus and go away. And they did something in front of that crowd. It's good to teach your audience that stuff can happen anywhere, you know. And just like, you know, they, I think randomly had like the U.S. title change hands at a house show. Having a heel turn in a backstage segment that's not televised is pretty creative. I want to give them credit for that, even though it would have been better suited for television. Because almost nothing happens on these shows. If these shows were jam-packed full of stuff, and this was just one of those things that, hey, you know, it ended up on social media, then that would be fine. But because SmackDown has been so incredibly bland and full of matches with no heat and storylines with no heat, and this is the big angle everybody's been waiting on, I am kind of like, why'd you do that here instead of doing it on SmackDown? But pulling the trigger right now gives people something to talk about. It builds anticipation. They're obviously going to show it on TV. It might even show it on TV with, you know, then we'll figure out what they're arguing about and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get the full explanation of why this is happening and, you know, where they're going with this and everything. But I still am kind of miffed that they decided to do this on social media. But it builds anticipation. It builds anticipation. Now everybody's going to be like, ooh, what's going to happen on SmackDown now? And they did a really good job with that on this show, because that's what The Rock's angle is all about. What side of The Rock is going to be on? You know, who is he with? Who he with, you know? What side is he on? And now Kevin Owens has turned heel, and he turned heel on Cody in the parking lot. Okay, he looked like he beat Cody's ass too. Cody didn't look like much of a fighter outside of the pyro and the, you know, the big jacket and everything. But, you know, getting sucker punched by his best friend seems okay. Well, one of his best friends. So I saw it. It's interesting that he did it in the parking lot. It's entertaining as they make the product more immersive. As that they're allowing things like this to happen outside the ring. It builds some anticipation for SmackDown as we're going to go into the show now with either Cody or Kevin Owens discussing this, probably both of them. Is likely going to show it on Raw and SmackDown and probably on NXT as well to really build to something. Only problem I have with this is that it leads to more Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens matches. And I'm not thrilled about Kevin Owens. Not a big fan. Not a big Kevin Owens guy. This MagMongoSlade fellow. Not a huge fan of the Kevin Owens thing. But it is what it is, man. So, that's it. Kevin Owens turns on Cody Rhodes, beat him up. Not surprised. I'm surprised that they did it. Not surprised they did that, but I'm surprised they did it in the parking lot. That was very creative. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this during the regular part of the review. I ended up making corned beef sandwiches with Colby Jack cheese. And I ate some carrot chips and some store-bought tabbouleh. That ended up being pretty good. Didn't tear my stomach up either. I've started using carrots as potato replacements. So, just to try to keep my starch and sugar levels down. So, it turned out to be pretty good. You know, what you could do, if you want to try it yourself, here's what you do. Season the carrots a little bit. You know, I use garlic salt, little onion powder. Toss it in some oil, put it in the air fryer. 10 minutes thereabouts. It's not going to be crunchy like a French fry, but it's usually pretty damn tasty. Try it out. As a replacement for potatoes, use baby carrots, or as I did, carrot chips or something like that. It's very goddamn good. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
No one does it better.